Hi, Abraham. I'm stuck in Yuma with my mother-in-law.
The worst possible condition.
I would really like to move on to San Diego without her. And
an interesting thing, because no matter where you go, she'll come too. If not physically, vibrationally. Let's talk about this. We like the word stuck that you're using because we can mock it substantially here. We want to play with you a little bit about it because people often will say, I'm stuck. And we like to say, you're not stuck because things are constantly changing. They're just changing to the same thing over and over again. Now, feel the power of that, because think about that engine that's always moving. And so it's not possible for you to be stuck, but you may continue to approach the same thing over and over again. So it gives you the sensation of being stuck because you're not moving to where you want to go. And so are you getting the sense from what we're talking about here that you have to move the way you feel in order to allow yourself to go where you want to go? Remember step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 1 says the contrast helps you to define your desire. And what do you think the desire is that you are defining about your mother-in-law? What desire do you think you hold? In other words, do you want to be free of her? Do you want to be free of the influence that she offers to her son? Do you want to be free of the way you feel when you think about her?
Yes. I'd like to be free of her negativity, and she's probably the only person that I have encountered, not the only, but the one I continually have to interact with.
So would
that
you say,
I feel negated with?
Would you say you want to be free of what she thinks about you, or do you want to be free of what you think about what she thinks about you? Give us an example of something that makes you want to run screaming and solely off into the desert.
She's very controlling. She lives in my household.
But how does it play out? Controlling meaning opinionated about how things should be done?
No, controlling as she wants everyone's actions to be how and when she prefers, and she seems to have a way to manipulate that, and I feel real caught up in that, and I don't know how to get myself back.
So here you are, a deliberate creator. You've come forth to be a deliberate creator. Now, a deliberate creator didn't come into this physical body saying, I will find the perfect environment in which to observe so that what I observe will feel good to me as I observe it. There's hardly anything even creative at all about that. That's just observe and regurgitate, observe and regurgitate. A deliberate creator says, I'm going to go forth into this spectrum of experience, and I'm going to selectively focus in order to achieve my point of attraction. Feel the difference. And then you said, and I would like an opportunity to get very good at that. What could be a better environment in order to understand, to learn, remember, and understand control of your own vibrational point of attraction than to have someone living with you who does not really understand? Because you're in a situation where you must, if you are to find your connection consistently, you've got to consider your connection more than you consider what you're observing. And that's the key to deliberate creation. The key to deliberate creation is you have to care more about this gap between where your set point is and where you want to be. You have to care more about where you're feeling and how you want to feel than anything else. You have to care more than what your husband thinks. You have to care more than what your mother-in-law thinks. You have to care more than what your neighbors think. You have to care more than what your church thinks or your government thinks. You have to care more than what anything that is outside of you thinks, because by caring about how you feel, you can shift your vibration, and when you shift your vibration, every relationship shifts. Every single one. So it's annoying to hear someone say, well, if you would respond to your mother-in-law differently, eventually she would respond differently to you, because everybody sort of feels like, well, it'd be nice if she'd just be the way she ought to be, and then I'd feel better anyway. But we have to tell you, control and empowerment is in not needing one other to be one bit different, and showing yourself that you can control the way you feel anyway. I can control the way I feel even if my dog gets run over. I can control the way I feel even if my mother-in-law moves in. I can control the way I feel even if someone I adore dies. I can control the way I feel because I have power of focus, and power of focus equals how I feel. True empowerment. And it's a gift she will give you because she's right there. There's too much at stake. You're not going to throw her out. She's not going to change. In other words, she's going to give you the gift of understanding how to control the way you feel.
Thank you.
We've been encouraging you. If you've got this bucket of thoughts, please choose the bucket of thoughts that feels best. But this seminar is about taking set points that have been plaguing you for years, that keep showing up in every day of your experience, and moving them to a new point of attraction, you see. And so just ramble there a little more and see if you can find something more on the subject that feels better. It's slow going, we know, but it is.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. This is the work. And it's harder work with a room full of people listening in.
I know.
But easier work with us coaching you. So this is what the work is. This is what the art of allowing is. Finding the most relieving thought that allows my well-being to eke in relative to this subject. Well-being's lined right up outside my door. Every day that I've spent with this woman, I've launched rockets of desires of what I want. And the universe knows it, and that stuff's lined right up outside my door. And as I find a little relief, a little more of it will come in. And I'll recognize it in my relationship with her immediately. It's really worth trying to find the feeling of relief. But you can't fake it. You don't want to say she's sunshine and roses. You don't want to say she means well, she might not. In other words, it's not about her. It's about you finding something that lets you feel better about this. I'm going to do something different this time. I'm going to ask her if she'll do the shopping and the cooking for this weekend. Now, which way does that take you? Did that feel better or worse?
Worse.
We've made room for her in our home. This is our home, not her home. This is our home, including her home. This is my home, and she lives here. This is our home. Which feels better?
Well, our home feels better, but I certainly...
All right, but nothing else matters. Okay. Nothing else matters, because you'll end up back in...
Okay, I'm going... That would be taking me back to...
There's no right in this. In other words, the only direction is the direction that feels better. So this is my house, and she needs to blend. This is our home, and I need to blend. Which feels better? They both feel rotten, don't they?
Yes, but the our house and I blend is certainly much better, because that gives me my control back. I mean, I know I don't have control of her and her reactions and her feelings.
This is wonderful.
So it certainly makes me feel better.
I'm stable. I know who I am. I'm validated.
Why do I doubt that, though?
Well, because sometimes you are more than others. But as we chew here, in other words, what you just said to us came from an absolute place of stability. What you just said to us is, I know this is my home, and I have the shock absorbers to be more flexible than she does, and I can give her that, and I don't always resent it. And these shock absorbers are part of what makes me able to watch television. It's what makes me able to be in the world. I'm not asking the world to be one way in order for me to cope and live. I have all of these coping mechanisms, and I don't mind applying them here too. You feel that?
Yes.
That was big movement for you. And so now what you're saying is, I'm strong, I'm stable, I'm not disempowered, I'm empowered. She never took my power away. I gave it to her sometimes, but I've just taken it back. I'm not going to give her my power anymore. So now our battle's over, because she thinks she's in charge, and I know she's not. In other words, we're not battling over power anymore, because I've regained my power. It's like the government thinks it has control over me when I'm going to do what I please. The seatbelt rule, they think they've got control over me, and I only buckle it when I think they're looking. The speed limit, they think they've got control of me. I go as fast as I want to go. I use my intuition. I slow down when there's somebody watching. No big deal. I'm free. I'm free. I can flex. in all of this. I'm free. She hasn't taken my freedom away. I've just taken it back. Feel how good that feels. There's huge relief in that, you see. And when you know you're free and somebody spews something at you, even if they're deliberately trying to make you feel bad, and you don't let it make you feel bad, you're still free. And they will get no satisfaction from tormenting you, you see. And we don't think any of it's deliberate. We think that she's just doing the best that she knows how to do. Everyone is.
I have been really working the last year on judgments, judging people. And
well, let's talk about it.
I think I've really overcome a lot of it, but I still have the issue with her. And
judgment is part of choosing. And there's a difference between somebody judging you and you judging them judging you. In other words, let's walk through this very specifically so that you can feel what we're getting at. People are always going to be aware of you, and they're always going to make a conclusion about their awareness. And you can't do anything about that, because who they are has much more to do with how they see you than what you're doing that they're seeing. In other words, an insecure person will look at you in a very different way than a secure person. And if you're insecure, then you'll resonate with the insecurity in them, and you'll have a miserable time together. Where if you're secure and they're insecure, you don't come together at all, you see. And so, judgment, you can't help but choose. Judgment is all part of the contrasting experience that helps you to conclude on conscious and unconscious levels. Preferences are born within you constantly, and preferences, whether you like the word or not, are judgments. In other words, it's from where I stand, how do I feel about that? And it's constantly happening. The expansion of this universe depends on leading edge beings like yourself having those experiences. But now what you're wanting to overlay this subject of judgment is, now for the first time, maybe consciously, I'm paying attention to how my judgment feels to me. Is my judgment, is my take on this hindering me or helping me? Is it enhancing my allowing of well-being, or is it hindering? Is it allowing my well-being or resisting my well-being? That's the ultimate judgment. How does this feel? That's what your guidance system is within you to know. So when you think, my mother-in-law is a meddler, that feels awful. When you think, my mother-in-law is doing the best that she knows how to do, that may feel better, unless you're insecure and haven't come there. In other words, if we had started with that, if we'd said, before we even began at all, if we'd said, which feels better, my mother-in-law is doing the best that she knows how to do, or my mother-in-law is deliberately being a rascal and thwarting my experience, it would have been hard for you to feel the relief in acknowledging that she's doing the best that she knows how to do. But because we've been beating the drum and you've reconnected with who you really are, now that feels better. We want to say to all of you, you'll always feel ultimately better to give somebody else the benefit of the doubt. But when you're over here in bondage, it's hard to give that which you perceive your captor to be the benefit of the doubt. It's easier and actually more life-giving to you to hate them. But you can't stand to get stuck in the hate. Is this making sense? You got to work your way through the vibration, and that's why nobody can write a book that says this attitude toward your mother-in-law will lead you out into sunshine and roses. They can't do it because they're not inside of you. They don't know what you want, and they don't know what you're dealing with right now. Only you can incrementally bridge the vibration into the place of allowing. It truly is an art. But it is an art worth learning, and once you've done it with one thing, you can do it with all things, so that never again will you experience the bondage of feeling bad again.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. It's really what unconditional love is, isn't it? It's wanting so much to be who I am that I find a way to be who I am no matter what. And I don't demand conditions to change. I don't demand things that I can't change to change. And can you feel how that has always been the ultimate bondage? Where I've needed something that I can't change to change in order to feel good. So wonder you don't all jump off cliffs. In other words, you can't get your government to do what you think you need it to do. You can't get your children to do what you think you need them to do. And when you finally give that up and you do the only thing that you can do something about, which is choose the thought that gives you relief, now you are forever free. It is so wonderful. Now what? Back row, yes.